So, logic. It is commonly looked at as something good, something that people should use, which is why when we argue with people, we often accuse them of not having it or not using it. In our culture, it's one of those words we throw around so much where if you're arguing that global warming exists or that your husband should leave the toilet seat down or that Donald Trump has a small penis, we look to logic as something good, something positive. But do we actually? Logic, simply put, is the science of reasoning. Logic says that when you add 2 with 2, you get 4, which clearly, based on the fact that that example you get taught in kindergarten, means that we use logic commonly in our lives. A lot of times we don't even think of it as using logic, we just think of it as thinking. But we are also taught morality and more appropriately values, which sometimes gets in the way of logic. Now, that's not always a bad thing. If we just had logic with no morality, we would have situations in which we see no reason to help another person. Like when you see a commercial about sad puppies with no owners, they don't give you a bar graph of puppy owners versus non-puppy owners' economic gain as to why you should adopt a puppy. They just show you pictures of the puppies being sad and shit to activate your inner morality. Like, there's really no logical reason why adopting that puppy would help you. It wouldn't. The little fucker's just gonna shit and pee all over your fucking floor. But they know you won't care about that when you're crying because of how sad and innocent the puppy looks. Now, morality, or again, more appropriately, values, are a very dangerous thing because other people have an extreme amount of influence over what our values are as we grow up. This is why your religion is what it is, what you find disturbing or what you find acceptable largely depends on who raised you and what's important to them. Which is ultimately why we have religion. I mean, if we only had logic, religion would not exist. Even if that sounds condescending, it's true. Logic and religion don't mix, which is why people call it faith. With faith, you're essentially saying, I understand I have no logical reason to believe in this shit, but yet something deeper or something else makes me want to believe in it. Which, what is that something? It's essentially nonsense, but more specifically, it's values instilled into them that have no logical merit. Now, remember, I said that dumb values aren't always just dumb, they are dangerous. If radical Islamic terrorists have not had those values taught to them, they would not have done the things they did. Many of the major wars and bloodshed we have had could have been avoided with the simple principle being at the forefront of these people's minds. Logic. Which is why I think, or not what, I think that we need logic to be more emphasized and have more importance put on it as a valuable character trait in our society. I mean, I think we need to emphasize the need for helping other people, of course, helping people that can't help themselves, but also we need to strongly emphasize logic and intellectual thinking. Because right now in our society, in a lot of ways, we don't. We don't really encourage intellectual thinking. We don't encourage logic. We just kind of have some logic there, and then we just tolerate people not using it, which to a degree is okay, but logic needs to be something that people really want. People really want to be good at, because right now, like, most people don't even think about the subject on this level, but when you do, it's pretty baffling how little logic our society really has. Like, religion, which is what inspired me to make this video in a lot of ways. Religion has not gotten us anywhere. Now, I don't think phasing out religion would make the world utopia or some shit, but would it be to society's benefit to phase out religion? Yes, of course it would. The concept of believing in something with no logic is ultimately ridiculous. There is no merit behind it. The only reason anyone believes in religion, for the most part, there are exceptions definitely, is because, or maybe there aren't really exceptions. Well, the reason you believe in religion, if you do, is because somewhere along the line, someone you know or you saw something influenced you to say that this is something that's good. It's a value that you want. But the problem with it is that it makes no logical sense, but yet we don't care. And if we had logic emphasized as something that we need to use, like, pretend I'm not even talking about religion right now. Let's just say we had logic to be emphasized as something more. Some logic, something emphasized to be something more that we need to use more often. Religion would go down dramatically. And yes, I understand that logic is not always the preferred thing. But when it comes to something that makes absolutely no fucking sense, that doesn't help anyone ultimately, I mean, it might give some people a false sense of conformity or a false sense of value, but it's false. It's a false sense. And it doesn't help anyone physically or concrete. There's no concrete help. Sometimes you do have some people who are mentally helped by it, but ultimately that help in the long run is not good for our society. It doesn't. If you have someone who finds, because I can understand the appeal of religion, like the idea that, hey, when I die, I'm not just going to be fucking dead, I'm going to go to heaven and shit. But that's just not true. There's no logical reason for that. And to actively encourage anti-logic or anti-intellectualism, which is what religion is scary. I mean, that's ultimately why you have ISIS existing, is because of anti-logic. And now, of course, I don't think all religious people are like ISIS. I understand that many people are only moderately religious and don't take their religion extremely seriously and don't do everything the Bible says to do. Or the Bible, for example. There's a lot of other books and shit. But if you don't take it too seriously, because taking it too seriously would mean that you would need to kill your child when they talk back to you, is that something you should take seriously at all? What logical reason is there? If there is no logic proving it or showing benefit, or better yet, why believe in it in the first place? If you have no logical reason for it to have benefit, no logical reason to prove that it exists, then why are you even having moderate faith in something that is, if you have serious faith in it, it's more terrible? Like, shouldn't all religion, in theory, be extreme faith? Shouldn't all religion, in theory, logically go and take the book and do everything it says because it's gospel? Shouldn't it? Like, logically thinking about it. Shouldn't it? But we're not logically thinking about it. We're being dumb. That's ultimately what it is. But the problem, it isn't even our fault. It's what's been instilled in us. And there is a growing movement. And I'm glad that there's a growing movement, and I'm glad that it's a lot of young people, because it speaks to what the future will be, to really use logic in these situations. To really look at something and be like, hey, there's no logical fucking reason for that to make sense. I don't care if it's what our culture has believed in for a long time. If there's no logical reason to believe in this, I'm not going to believe in it. Of course, I think we should all have morality as well. Of course, I think we should have values. Of course, I think we should do whatever we can to help people who can't help themselves. Do whatever you can to make sure that everyone around us is living just as good as we are, even if it doesn't help us in any way. But in no way do we have to have religion for that. We don't. Religion is ultimately just anti-intellectualism. It is actively encouraging you not to think, and you don't even know it. You're born thinking, hey, Christianity would be good, and you don't think about it. And then when you think about it, it makes no sense, so you just don't think about it. And here's the thing, too. Like, Christians are not inherently stupid. Like, you're taking... Religion's fascinating. I think Bill Maher said this. You have a group of otherwise intelligent people, and they're just completely ignoring that intelligence for one area of their lives. Because it's... He didn't say this, I'm saying this. Because it's those... what they were told to think, and the movement that says that people, instead of thinking what they're told to think, should logically look at certain things, is growing, and that's good. Because ultimately, we need more logic in our society. We need more logic in the whole world. Because, really, if you have more logic, you have more people understanding. Even if it sounds like it doesn't make sense, I would be willing to bet that the more logic you have in a society, the more equal and the more moral that society would be. Just because if you have people who are intellectual and can see that some people are systematically disadvantaged, then those people get helped more. So I hope I didn't sound... I think I might have sounded a bit like a crazy person rambling. But hopefully you guys understood that. And I want to be clear. I don't think all religious people are stupid, generally. I think that they're just ignoring logic for one aspect. And it looks like that's beginning to change, and that's good. So, yeah. Subscribe for more shit. I don't know, dude. Just fuck. You know what I want. Just upvote it and subscribe. Like it. Fuck you. Yeah. I'm out. Whoop.